this thing on? Looks like it. Um, yeah, so, hey, it's been a while. I mean, the last life update was, what, December? I said we are going to call it quits. I know I did do a post-op update about a week after my surgery. Maybe it was 2 weeks after. Anyway, um, I just figured with the cumulative events that have happened, I might as well just go ahead and throw out kind of like a mega update, summarized, of course, because otherwise it'd just be like a 2 hour thing. And I know no one's got the patience for that. So here I am on this surprisingly chilly June morning. And yeah, just gonna get you caught up on what's happened in my life since I last signed off. If anybody's been actually following the channel, I've been uploading on a regular schedule with the Kingdoms of Amalur Let's Play. Just a little tidbit of information there. I actually recorded all that gameplay last month. During the excuse me, during the tail end of my medical leave, I was bored and had a lot of time to kill, so I just played through the entire game in 1 hour chunks. 1 hour being because that's all the PS5 is limited to for the onboard software recording. So I'm just doing those in 1 hour chunks, just because of that. Anyway, that's beside the point here. That's not why I'm here for this update. Anyway, life since the surgeries. I'm going to go back a little bit to just before I quit the life updates. I had the top surgery back in October. That one was, it was pretty easy going. Outpatient procedure. I got in there, got out, had the operation, went home all within the span of about 5 hours, 6 hours. Yeah, we arrived a little after 5, and I was back on the road again, coming home by by 11:30. So that part was actually very painless. That was very very welcome. Um, Recovery that went on for about 8 weeks, I think it was, maybe 6 weeks. Yeah, 6 weeks. They were a little concerned because my job does entail some heavy lifting, so they gave me an extra 2 weeks beyond the original scope based on that. Yeah, so that was all well and good. As you can see, I'm a little better off now than I was back then. Didn't go overboard because I don't want to be an unnatural look, so I kept things reasonable. So yeah, that'll take us through October, November, December. Just a normal month with cold, with snow, with holidays, all that, and with my deciding to end the life updates. That'll be said and done. Now we go into January, which actually no, there was one little thing in December that probably was worth mentioning. That was when they called me or notified me that they had a date set for me for my other surgery, and that was to be in March. So I got a hold of my employer the next day, started getting the paperwork done, things set in motion with the company that handles the short-term disability. And yeah, by early January, everything was set as far as they were concerned. Had a few doctor's appointments to make sure that I was medically sound and ready. I did have to meet with my therapist, my social worker, but she had a lot of different roles anyway. But Had to get a new letter from her before insurance would give the green light and say, yes, this is absolutely going to be approved. And then before I knew it, there we were in mid March, and good God, that was an ordeal. Um, Something that they tend to downplay with the whole ovaloplasty is you are required the night before to undergo the same prep that you would if you were going for colonoscopy. It's the 3350 solution, which tastes god awful. I actually puked because it was so terrible, but it was necessary, so I soldiered through it as best I could. Um, Still, I couldn't finish it all, but it got me through anyway. So next morning, I can't sleep, and I had to go. So part of the recovery is you've got to stay with someone for a couple weeks, just because you are helpless for those first couple weeks after the surgery. Thankfully, I did have one friend who I didn't even have to ask. She just volunteered to take me in and my cat for those couple weeks, and she was she was very helpful, very attentive, especially with the cat. So yeah, I was in really good hands for those couple weeks. It was good, but I did learn the hard way that my cat does not like other cats. We spent 3 weeks there with my friend, and those two cats never warmed up to each other. Trish was every bit as combative on the last day as she was on the first day, and yeah, there was tension in the air anytime those two got within 10 feet of each other. So unfortunately, there was no happy ending for those two. Now, as far as the surgery itself went, you had to get in there plenty early. I think it was a 5:45 check-in in that morning, and I went in for surgery. What was it, about 8 o'clock, 8:15, somewhere in that time frame. I have no recollection after about 8:20 until waking up, being wheeled to my recovery room, my hospital room. And then my friend she had to leave because she had obligations with her job and everything. So I was sitting there in the in, the, in my hospital room for 4 days. No visitors, but it was just as well. We had a massive blizzard that came through the next day, so even if people wanted to visit, there was nothing. Fun fact: when you get a vulvoplasty, they have you up and walking the same day. There is no stay in bed the whole time. It's okay. It's been a couple hours. You need to get up and start walking. Doesn't matter how far, just get up and walk. Now, thank God that these beds that they had for us, there was a metal bar that you could reach up and you can pull yourself up. Because without that, I don't think I could have gotten out of bed at all the first couple days. Because I had to rely purely on the upper body to pull myself up, so I could sit up and swing my legs over the edge of the bed. Otherwise, it just wouldn't have worked. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I mean, thankfully the nursing staff and really all the staff, that I encountered during my stay there was they were all very very friendly, very accommodating. I mean, hell, they even went out of their way to find me Gatorades because water and me, we don't have a great relationship. I tend to shun water when there's other options available. But oh god, it's so weird not having not having the urge to pee for what was it 4 days? Yeah, I went Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah, it was 4 days where they had the catheter and it was just pretty weird. But yeah, then came the bill, or what would have been the bill for me, and I was watching these insurance claims just piling up and piling up and piling up, and I was getting nervous for a while there. I mean, when I tallied everything up, the grand total came out to I think it was $97,000 between the surgery, anesthesia, recovery room, hospital room, various testing, medications, the blood draws, all that uh, came up to $97,000. So I was sweating bullets for a while there, not sure if the insurance was going to cover it because well they flaked on me before and I got stuck with several $1,000s worth of bills. So it was a huge relief when I finally saw that the claims processed and they approved the payment. But I don't want to have to go through that again. Leaving the hospital, I was feeling pretty good overall, but I'm not sure how much of that was just because the drugs were that potent. Fun little aside. I had a drain, and they had it. Yeah, it was right by here. Yeah, they had the drain right here to drain the blood out. I wasn't bleeding a whole lot from the inside in that site, but they took the drain out on Monday morning, and they kind of forgot to tell me that yeah, it was gonna bleed. So I get dressed, I go home, and I'm wearing loose fitting clothing down there, and reach the end of the day. I decide, okay, it's time to go to bed. Time to change my pad because while down there, I was still bleeding a lot from all the incisions and all the scarring and scabbing. And I reached to start pulling down my underwear, and I realized there's a giant wet spot there. Turns out I was bleeding out of that tiny, tiny, tiny little hole for I don't know how long, but yeah, it kind of freaked me out because there's this huge like that big of an area around that was just pure blood. So kind of a failure on the doctors and maybe the nurses' part because they didn't advise me to put a dressing on there or have a second pad in place for that or anything of that nature. So yeah, lesson learned. Fortunately, the clothing was not ruined. Got the stains out, got the blood out, so it was in the end it was okay. And then came the 2 weeks of recovery and a lot of sitting around playing Switch, reading books, uh, read a couple of novels, light novels, and some manga. had a lot. I got into the Hikikomori. I think it's pronounced, and that was a fun book to read. I was a little puzzled at first because it kept jumping around to this unnamed character. They just call him the Salary Man. It's like, okay, what's that have to do with with the main character and her story? It was about 2/3 of the way through the book that you finally see it all come together, and his role in the story becomes clearer, and it turns out to be a very significant role overall. But I I highly recommend it. But yeah, finally went home after just shy of 3 weeks, from surgical date to when I left. Yeah, the first few days afterward were were pretty rough. Getting down on the floor was an ordeal, but I managed. And then, just slowly taking it easy, I started driving again for the first time in a month. Felt so weird. But, but yeah, it was slow and steady recovery. And before I knew it, all those weeks of just lazing around, waiting to heal, the spotting and bleeding subsided little by little, and yeah, now no blood, no discharge, none of that going on. So happy, happy, joy, joy. I came back to work, and I've been back for just over a month now. But all was not well. While I was good as far as surgical recovery goes, that's when my, let's see, how do I phrase this? Something I had scheduled way back when was a dental appointment to get my teeth cleaned, get my yearly X-rays, and everything looked fine. They kept an eye out on the number 8 tooth, and just everything just seemed normal. Well, a couple weeks later, all of a sudden I wake up and I realize that there's a weird pressure sensation when I bite into things, and that was really weird. I'd never had that before. The next day, I started experiencing some sensitivity to cold, and the next day I started experiencing sensitivity to hot and warm. So this is really weird because this tooth has had virtually no sensation whatsoever for years. I mean, I could only feel the absolute coldest of cold on this tooth for years. And then all of a sudden it gets super sensitive to everything. I mean, it was to the point where I couldn't talk because the vibrations when you speak, they just cause so much pain in the tooth and the nerves, and I was like, okay, well, fucking hell. Now I have to communicate via my phone, with text. I can't talk because it just it sucks. Even air temperature, um, exposure would just set it off. So I make an appointment with my dentist, and they get me in the next day, take a couple X-rays, and find out that, yeah, your nerve is absolutely fucked. It's gone rogue, and it needs to be removed. So they scheduled me for a root canal. Problem was the uh, dentist's office was not equipped for that, so I had to go to an endodontist. Problem was their first appointment was 2 weeks out, or was it 3 weeks out? Anyway, I had a root canal done just last Monday, just a week ago today, and yeah, they went in there. They got rid of the nerve, as far as I can tell. Filled it up with oh god, I'm getting tired. With the temporary filling. Told me to wait a week and then call my dentist to get permanent filling. Well, now I've got to wait another week and a half for the first available appointment for that. It's going to be a terrible time for me because it's I'll have to totally fuck up my sleep schedule to actually make the appointment. But yeah. Luckily, the endodontist informed me that a crown is not necessary because it's a front tooth. It's this one right here. So she advised me that yes, I could get a crown if I really wanted, but there'd be a whole nightmare scenario with matching the color and staining and everything. It would be a nightmare to get the aesthetics correct. And she explained that the workload and the stress placed on the front tooth is insufficient to really require a crown anyway. So it's really just money wasted. So we're going to proceed with a permanent filling next week. Hey God, I got tired. Progesterone, why do you do this to me? So, yeah, fun little story with the root canal itself. I wasn't aware of just how much hardware they pack in your mouth when you're getting a root canal. Everything was fine except for this rubber mat thing, like a spit guard or something. I'm not sure what they call it, but they placed it over my tongue, and it really restricted the tongue. And I'll tell you, the trauma response was unexpected. For those of you who have kept up with me over the years, I used to do fetish modeling. This was many years ago. This was like, God, what was it? 2019 was the last time I did it. So it's been better part of a decade since I last did it. But anyway, part of the scene with fetish modeling is you can get a photographer, rigger, person who doesn't doesn't like to play nicely, for lack of a better term. And yeah, they like to force situations on you that you're not comfortable with, that will induce panic attack, anxiety, whatnot. And yeah, so one of mine is having the range of motion with my tongue suppressed because I can't swallow, I choke. And yeah, things get really nasty really fast for me that way. and I was experiencing that all over again with that hair that mat in my mouth, and I was freaking out. I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I was freaking out, and I communicated that to the endodontist, and thankfully she was very accommodating. Um, so fortunately, she was able to move the hardware over a little bit, so I could actually move my tongue over and then swallow as needed. So, crisis averted, although I was a little embarrassed by the fact that I freaked out the way I did. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much my life in a nutshell right now. I'm thinking it's time for me to just just bite the bullet and buy myself a computer, just so I can do some proper video editing and make these, make these gaming clips and videos and compilations something that's actually worthwhile. I mean, everything I've done with those Monster Hunter videos, you can check out. I do all that with the onboard PS5 Share Factory software, and the results are, I mean, all things considered, I think that they are pretty good, given the limitations of the hardware and software. But I want to do something more high quality. But computers are fucking expensive, and I would really like to be able to, you know, I want to be able to actually do things properly. Maybe actually grow this channel. Um, yeah. What else? I think that's it for now. So that's the rundown. I am listening to a lot of D&D themed music lately. Tavern Core, having a blast with it. Really, I mean, I know it's all fucking AI, but I really don't give a shit at this point because the world's burning. No one gives a fuck that it is burning, and I have nothing for my future to look forward to. So if the world becomes uninhabitable because of AI centers, fuck it. This is the world that MAGA and the Republicans want. So fine, just let them fucking have it. I'm done. Oh God, yeah, I'm I'm tired. I'm done. So for those of you who, oh God, it's cold in here. I'm just wearing shorts. So anybody who actually watched this all the way through, awesome. If not, well, I don't blame you. I just rambled on for half an hour, or how long was it? Mm, yeah, yeah, half an hour. That's fine. But yeah, I think this is where I'm gonna end it, and I will see you later. Right, I have one other thing. The day after the root canal, I burned my hand. I burned my finger. Safety gear failed. There was a hole in the glove, and I put my hand right on a 500-degree barrel. That was not cool. Literally. Anyway, on that note, I'm done, and I will see you around. Maybe we'll do live streaming again real soon. I'm kind of getting the itch to start doing it again. Maybe after I platinum Monster Hunter Wilds. But yeah, we'll talk to you later.